What is it? Dragons?
Hello once again, friends and enemies, and welcome back to Card Game Review. My name is Toxy, and today we're going to be talking about a old, kind of little known card game called Wyvern. Wyvern is a fantasy card game that rode off of the back of Magic the Gathering and only lasted about a year of print. The main draw of Wyvern was that you are an emperor utilizing dragons as an army to battle other emperors. The game utilized gold pieces as both a resource and a point system and tried to keep itself within a high fantasy setting. Honestly, there's not much to the history of this card game, so let's go ahead and take a look at the cards that make up your deck. Wyvern is actually played with two decks, your Dragon Lair deck that's made up of 15 or more cards, and your Treasure Hoard made up of 35 or more cards. There are four types of cards that make up both decks in Wyvern. You have your dragon cards, your terrain cards, your action cards, and your treasure cards. Aside from their different colors, the only real thing you need to pay attention to on these cards is the little midsection right between the art and the text box, where there might be a gold coin symbol, wherein that's the cost of the card. Some of these cards might also have different subsections of card, but we'll go over that during the gameplay section. And with possibly the shortest intro I have ever had to a review, let's take a look at the gameplay. We start the game with two decks. One is our Dragon Lair pile, compiled of dragon cards and terrain cards. The other is our Treasure Hoard, compiled of treasure cards and action cards. We grab the top 6 cards of our Dragon Lair pile, and we begin to make 2 rows, setting all 6 cards face down on our field. Then, we grab the top 7 cards of our Treasure Hoard and put them into our hand. Each player gets 25 gold, and then we can start the game. We start our turn with the draw phase by drawing the top card of our Treasure Hoard into our hand. During our second phase, we can take one treasure card from our hand and place it at either end of either row, provided there is at least one dragon or terrain card in that row. During our third phase, we can freely move up to 2 cards on our field around on the field. For treasure cards, we can move them between their treasure zones. And for dragon and terrain cards, we can move them between dragon and terrain zones. During phase 4 of the game, we can play any action card that we have in our hand on the field. Action cards are played one at a time, starting with the turn player. And much like with treasure cards, if any action cards have a gold piece symbol, we pay those gold pieces to play that card. There are 4 types of action cards to be aware of. Regular action cards are standard action cards that you play during this phase. Battle action cards can only be played during the battle phase. Dragon Slayer cards can only be played during your action phase and can only be played on a face-up card on the field that they affect. And reaction cards or battle reaction cards are played in response to certain cards. Treasure abilities can also be used as actions during this phase. For this turn, I'm going to play Marduk, paying 1 gold and ensuring that no battle action cards can be played during this turn. Since this card was used, it'll go into my Treasure Hoard discard pile, off to the side. Phase 5 of our turn is our battle phase. During our battle phase, we must either attack with the dragon, or discard a dragon or terrain card from our battlefield and replace it with the top card of our Dragon Lair pile. Only one attack can be done per battle phase. If any of our dragons are face up, we can simply announce that we're attacking. Since our dragons are face down, we're going to choose one of our dragons and flip it face up. We then pay our gold equal to the dragon's strength. Kukulkan is a strength of 3, so we pay 3 gold. We also pay any gold used as an additional cost. For Kukulkan, this is 1 gold. Each dragon can only be paid for once per game, so if my Kukulkan gets put face down again, I can put a counter on it to represent that I had already paid for it, so that when I flip it back up, I know that I don't have to pay for it again. When attacking, you can choose to attack face-up cards or face-down cards. When a face-down card is attacked, the person being attacked flips that face-down card over and pays any costs associated with that card. When a dragon attacks another dragon, we look at the strength numbers of both cards. The player that has the dragon with the lowest strength can begin to play battle action cards if they wish to. After all battle action cards have been played and all effects have been accounted for, the dragon with the highest strength wins the battle, and the dragon with the lowest strength gets discarded. If a terrain card is attacked, the terrain's effect gets applied depending on what type of dragon attacked it. It is important to note that dragons can have less than 0 strength in this game. The only time in which a dragon's status matters on the field is when they get destroyed by a stronger dragon. Phase 6 acts as a second action phase, where we can play any actions in our hand except for dragon slayers. And lastly, phase 7 is the discard phase, where we take a look at the cards in our hand, and if we have more than 7, we discard down. The game ends when a player no longer has any dragon or terrain cards on their field, and they are declared the loser. While simple, Wyvern does seem to have quite a bit of moving parts in the game, given that we have a few different types of action cards, but also we have a few different classifications of dragons, and even though I didn't go over them, the dragon classifications can get a little muddied when you're actually playing the game. However, it doesn't take long, at least in my opinion, for the terminology of each dragon to get stuck in your head and figure out how to play them. That being said, I feel like it's really easy to see why this game didn't take off. The game was only sold, like I said, for a very short period of time. I think it only sold for a year, but it could have only sold up to 3 years. Either way, there were only 3 sets printed for Wyvern as a whole, with the last 2 sets being mostly reprints of the first set, with very few new cards actually being introduced. This overzealous reprinting of the cards is actually theorized to be the main point as to why Wyvern did get discontinued and go downhill, because for a while when it was actually a game, it actually got fairly popular, having its own sanctioned tournaments. Nowadays, Wyvern cards aren't really that expensive. I got a starter deck for $5 and I got a binder full of 300 something cards for like $30. Although I will say that the gold pieces that are actually made for the game are really expensive. They are really hard to find, and if you do find them, they do get up there in price. As for how fun the game is, I can't really say because I haven't gotten to play it myself. The only people that have seemed interested in the game also kind of realize that this game doesn't really seem like it's going to be a game that's crazy fun for current day card game enthusiasts. There are also, as far as I know, no current way to play this game in an online simulator at all. All that being said and mashed together, while I do like the art and the aesthetic of Wyvern, I can't get over that this game does seem to be just kind of a mishmash of game mechanics that intersect okay, it seems, but I don't know if this game will really be all that fun in practice. However, I am inclined to change my mind. For right now though, I'm going to leave Wyvern with a 4 out of 10. I'm not necessarily going to say that the game is bad, but I can definitely see the game being frustrating and confusing when you're trying to play it or even trying to learn how to play it. But there we have it. It seems like this review is pretty short, although we'll see what happens when I edit it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was good for you. If you've played Wyvern before, please tell me down below if the game is actually legitimately fun. I would like to know, and it's really hard to find people actually willing to play the game. And if you haven't seen Wyvern before or played it, let me know what you think of what I've shown you today. Do you think that the game could be good, or do you think it just seems kind of okay, maybe less than okay? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, as always, drink your water.